Hello folks, Alex here. This is Alex Unabridged, and these are my writing goals for 2024. So welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, I hope you're all well. It's very cold here today, so I hope you're all warm and toasty and not freezing like we were this morning. It's like -6, I think, when I took the dog out this morning. So that's like 20 degrees Fahrenheit for my pals across the pond there. So yeah, quite chilly for us. We've had a bit of snow and now it's just like iced over and it's like a skating rink, so fun. But yes, I hope you're all keeping warm wherever you may be. So writing goals for me for this year then. Yeah, 2023. I got going a little bit with the writing that I got planned. I set out when I started the channel to kind of make writing part of kind of what I talked about, and I didn't do enough really to say much. Unfortunately, a few little progress updates, but that was it. I managed to make some inroads into some stuff, but I kept getting hung up on things, largely due to confidence, I think. But then at the back end of last year, I submitted to Garbology, which is obviously the anthology that is being published by Mr. Troy Tradup, or Tough Times, which is his little publishing company, and he's running that project with Ollie from Criminally. And yeah, I submitted something for that, a short story for that, which was really good fun writing that. I had a blast writing that story, and actually managing to finish something and send it off felt great. So even if my story doesn't get accepted, there's absolutely no guarantees at all. I'm in with a ton of what I'm sure are fantastic stories from other folks, and so it may well not get into the collection, but even if it doesn't, it was still a great experience writing it, and it has spurred me on to kind of knuckle down and get some more stuff finished and released into the wild, because now I know I can do that. Even just get things finished and out there, that's what matters. The success with anything artistic, I'm an artist primarily, for my day job, and getting rejections are all part and parcel of that career, that path, etc., that thing that we do as creatives. So I'm not a stranger to being unsuccessful in submissions. So it's not going to put me off if I don't get my Garbology submission included. As I say, what was important about it was that I finished something, and that I released it into the wild. I got it in for submission, and I enjoyed doing it. So that has spurred me on somewhat. So 2024 then, I've now got time as well. I've now got time to write. I'm being kicked out of this room for a few months, hopefully imminently. We're meant to be getting a new roof, a whole new roof done, and I'm in the loft here, so this room is going to be inaccessible for a bit. Yeah, we're getting a whole new roof done, and then we're going to get the inside renovated and stuff. So it's going to take a while. And because this is my art studio, I'm not going to be able to make much art while I'm out of it. I'm going to be working in the dining room. There's not a huge amount of space. Plus, I'm not allowed to get sticky printing ink all over the nice furniture. So what better time than to turn my attention to another kind of creative endeavour and actually do some writing, do something that I can do quite easily, or practically speaking, just at my computer, which will be moved downstairs. And I'll be able to do that pretty much full time, near enough full time. I'm just finishing up a big design job at the moment that will be done by the end of the week. So by the time this video goes out, it will be done and dusted. And then I'm going to be writing. I've got a couple of little personal art projects on the go as well, which actually are book related as well, but they're small and they'll serve as a good break from the writing when I need it. The current state then of my writing projects, I'm an ideas guy, and this is great, and also it's a blessing and a curse. I never have any trouble, whether it's art or writing, art making or writing. I never have any trouble with coming up with ideas. I have too many to ever get done in their entirety. I write all of my ideas down and I keep them together in this place. It's great to have lots of ideas, but I need to focus more and actually act on them and get some, actually prioritize and get some of them finished before I move on to another one. I'm very much kind of like, I will focus on something and then, new shiny thing, or new shiny idea, and I want to start that straight away, and that's what I want to be working on. And I need to be a little bit more disciplined with myself in terms of saying, no, write down what you've got about that, keep it in your mind, write down anything that comes to mind in terms of ideas in your notes section, but don't start actually working on it, developing it until you've finished what you actually started. So that's kind of the main priority for me this year, is to actually get things finished that are further on. And as I say, I'm still allowed to have ideas. I can't help it. It's what my brain does. And I'm allowed to write those down and keep them there ready for starting when I finish the other stuff. But I can't be perpetually bouncing around between various unfinished projects. I will pop up on screen the kind of homepage, if you like, of my writing projects section on Millernote, which is the app that I use to kind of keep all of my kind of ideas and notes and all that kind of stuff in. For everything really. I use it for BookTube as well, for all of my various scripting and all that kind of stuff, but I have a section just on writing. This is where I keep all of my ideas. So yes, so as you can see, there's a few here. There are 5 novels to start with. The lake I will come back to, because that is one of the focuses for this year. Mine, this one again, it's got the initial part of it is very clear in my head. The concept is very clear in my head, but it's quite complex. It's a horror novel. It's a difficult one of how I make it work. The entity that is in it is quite strange even to me, and I need to figure out how that works. So that one is going to be left for a bit, because I need that just to kind of, it'll come to me eventually, it'll spark something in my head and it'll come to me. But that one, it won't come easily, so I'm going to leave that one for a bit. Ink is one that I've had in my brain for years, just the initial premise of it, which is a guy wakes up in a hotel room covered in new tattoos and he has no memory of how he got them. That one's evolved. That one's evolved from kind of a much more of a straight kind of mystery through to now it's kind of a science fiction, sort of early cyberpunk / dystopic crime thriller. It's gone places in my head that I didn't expect it to. And I'm liking where it's going, but again, it's going to take some serious thought, that one. It's quite complex in terms of its plot, and certainly in terms of codes. The tattoos essentially are codes. They are coded kind of sigils, and that's going to take some actual design work for me to actually figure out before that will come in with the plot and stuff. So again, that one is, I need to cut my teeth on some slightly simpler stuff first, and come back to things like that. That's a much bigger project. Reset is potentially a novella, which is a sort of timey-wimey, time travel, future, post-apocalypse type thing. which I really like the concept of it, that I kind of just popped into my head. That was inspired by a writing competition prompt, actually, from years ago, when I happened to be reading one of my mum's writing magazines, and this just came into my head. And so yeah, I will come to that one. That one's not too complex, but again, it's not a priority because it's just in its concept phase at the moment. And then you've got an attempt at romance, which I will come back to because that will be another one of the focuses. And then short stories. Oh God, this is where it gets a little bit crazy because these are the ones that I'm constantly having ideas for. The Dark Peak, that will be a focus, so I'll come back to that. Again, the Yellow Belly short story collection. I keep having these ideas for the kind of like stuff that is set in places that are geographically specific to me. So Dark Peak, I live in the Dark Peak area of the Peak District, and so that's why that one's kind of first up. But Yellow Belly is all based around Lincolnshire, and that's where I grew up. So that's another short story collection that I've got 6 ideas for, some of which further on than the others. The Highland Horrors collection, that's again there's 3 I've got in there for Scottish Highlands. There was 4, but I nicked one of those ideas for the Garbology submission, so I'm back down to 3. Unless it doesn't get in, and then I may include it, rework it and include it in that. And then we've got an antiquary horror short story collection, which is all, you know, kind of artifacts, documents, stately homes or listed buildings, that kind of thing. Mainly because I love M.R. James and I really like that kind of turn of the century horror. And so I wanted to have a go at some of that myself. So again, I've got, you know, some stuff is much further on than others, but I need to just focus on one thing for a while. And so that's going to be, in terms of the short stories, that's going to be the Dark Peak collection, because it's furthest on and it's easier for me to do in terms of research, etc., because I live right here in the Dark Peak. So I'll come back to that in a minute. And then the Flash section slash microfiction. The memoir in Flash I've talked about before. This is using sort of autofiction to look back at elements of my kind of elements of my childhood, well, elements of my life in general, but very specifically pertaining to my trans identity and my trans experience, my trans awakening, if you like. So that is quite far on, but I'm not going to focus on that at the moment. That's not going anywhere. I'll add to that. There'll be more stuff that'll come into that, and those will be very, very short pieces of flash fiction slash microfiction slash even poetry. That is a very open-ended project, so it's kind of it gets worked on sporadically, but I'm in no hurry for that because, as I say, it's a memoir, and I'm only going to add more into it as I remember more stuff. And then we've got a couple of little pieces of flash or microfiction. It's the They're Not Spiders, which is based on a dream, a nightmare that I had at the back end of last year. That's pretty much finished. It needs a bit of tweaking, but it's pretty much there. And the same with Beware Sleeping Giants. That's just something I had an idea for one day and wrote it. And I've got a bit of artwork to go with that as well. So I would probably, with the Spider one and the Sleeping Giants one, we'll probably just put together a zine at some stage and actually just publish those very simply as a paper zine. So yeah, Flash and stuff I might use for some competitions if I want to submit to competitions or submit to kind of zines or collections, etc. If opportunities come up throughout the year, I might use some of those because they are kind of further on, and I can kind of tweak those and tinker with those quite easily if I want to submit something, rather than worry about like finishing a short story for something. So yeah, my goals then, the things that I am actually gonna be doing. This is what I want to get done this year. In an ideal world. So, number 1 is that novel, The Lake. This I've had on the go for 3 years, maybe, something like that, 2 or 3 years, that I keep dipping back in and out of, but because it's a bigger project, I never actually really get going with it. I kind of do a bit here and a bit there, and then I kind of lose steam with it for a bit because I've got other things on and all that kind of stuff. Whereas because I've got this time now, this block of time where I can actually get some stuff done, like really focused, stuff every day on writing, I'm going to try and really crack on with this. To give you a little breakdown of what this one is, it's a mix at the moment of kind of sort of police procedural crime thriller, with some horror elements, some mystery, and some Welsh mythology. So this is outlined, at kind of the high level sort of outline, with quite a lot of detail within that outline, for about half of it. I think the latter half of it will become clearer to me as I write the first half. I think that's the way it's going to go. I do sit very much in the middle between a planner and a pantser, a discovery writer essentially. So I think the second half, although I've got bare bones for it of where the story should go, but there's not a lot of detail in there and I think that won't come until I actually write it. I've written the prologue for it like 3 times already to test out voice, to test out tense, POV, things like that, tone, all that kind of stuff. And I've got some other scenes drafted sort of here, there and everywhere really. But I really want to make progress with this in terms of I want to have a clear idea of exactly what is going to happen for all of it, because with it being police procedural and sort of crime thriller, there is a kind of a chain of events, that needs to be somewhat believable and somewhat real world mixed in with the stuff that might not be quite so real world. I want to make sure I've got that kind of thing nailed, and I want to have the initial kind of dirty draft of it done sort of by the time we're into like midsummer this year, really, midsummer to the end of summer. I'd like to have it to a point, ideally by the end of the year, when it's kind of at the point where I can put it into the hands of an editor, really, to kind of sort of see what I need to do next. So that's, I'm hoping to be able to publish this or send it for submission or whatever I'm going to do with it, sort of, the first half of 2025. So I want to really get a good handle on this one this year and have at least, a draft finished completely, a draft that I'm happy with by the end of the year on that. Okay, the second one then is another novel, but this is the romance. And I think this will be a great antidote to the darker, slightly more sort of complex stuff in terms of plotting, of the lake, of the sort of crime thriller horror novel. Then romance. I set out writing this and started writing this after I read some romance as part of Garb August. This is queer romance between a transmasculine, non-binary person, and a cisgendered guy, and it's set in the outdoors, and that's kind of all I'll tell you about it at the moment. It's a spicy romance. It's spicy and sweet, I think. So I've already written about 40,000 words of this one. It just came out. It just kind of came out. I think probably 20 to 25,000 words of that is usable. It needs a lot of tidying up, a lot of finishing off, and it does need actually finishing in terms of its plot. But I do want to get this one done, and I want to get it out to some folks just to cast their eyes over it, to see what they think about the spice level / sweetness level, whether it's potentially an enjoyable read. So I'd quite like to get that done by autumn this year. Get it to the point where it's ready to go out for other eyes to be cast over it. Okay then, and then the other one is the short story collection of the Dark Peak stuff. I definitely want to get this. This is the one I want finished and published this year. It'll probably be self-published, I think. I think selling a short story collection as a new writer to an agent and publishers is probably not viable. Possibly a very small scale independent publisher that specialises in this particular sort of fiction, but I really don't know. I think it's probably more likely that this is going to be a self-published thing, I should think. I'm reasonably far on with this. I just need to stop tinkering so much with some of the stories. It's a confidence thing. It's very much a confidence thing that I can't sort of, you know, call something finished, that I'm constantly tinkering, thinking, oh, I could make that better, I could make that better, I could make that better. And I think there is a point at which you just have to say, no, for now, this is done. This is done. And certainly to the point where I need to show it to somebody. Do you know what I mean? It's like I do need to like just start showing some of the stories individually to people and get some feedback, because then I'll know where I need to go from there with it. It's quite trashy in a lot of ways. Some of it is quite trashy. Some of it's a little bit more, not experimental, but I'm trying to be a little less trashy. But it's, you know, it will be what it'll be. Do you know what I mean? I just want to enjoy writing it. I'm not trying to do anything mind-blowing with it. I just want to tell some cool, spooky, gross, unsettling stories set in the wonderful landscape that we have here that can be beautiful but also quite bleak. So yeah, that is the one that I really do. I want to get that done and out this year, because then I can work on another short story collection next year. So that's it then. My main goals: get things bloody finished, stop tinkering with stuff, get over the fear of finishing things, because, and I know the fear is there, you know, it's self-sabotage in some respects, that once I call something finished, that means the next step is to show it to people. And I do this with my artwork. This is not a new concept. You know, I love creating, but I am always terrible at getting my stuff out there. I always have been, because I worry that it's not good enough. And experience has told me that that is not the case with my artwork. That, yeah, I'm not going to be a master, but I'm, you know, I can do good stuff. I may never be great, but I can be good. I know that much. So I need to just get over this fear of finishing things and get some stuff out there. I'll never know whether I can do this writing-wise, on the writing side of things, if I don't share some stuff. So there we go. So we've got, you know, a horror/crime novel. We've got a spicy romance and some short stories for the year. And I really want to make this the year that I actually get going with the writing and just find out whether I think it's something that I can add into my, whether it's something I can add into my kind of portfolio of creativity as a professional creative, or whether it's something that I will just continue to do as a hobby. You know, it's either is fine, but I need to find out what it's going to be, and to do that I need to get going with it. I will keep you posted with progress via vlogs, updates, probably monthly, but might be a bit more sporadic than that. I'm not entirely sure what I'll do with that yet, but I will keep you posted. When I've written something that I'm happy with, I will read you some excerpts on the channel as well. Not the spicy stuff, not doing that. I have also set up a writing waffle channel on my Discord, where I'll share some more stuff about progress, and also just, you know, kind of how flipping hard creating can be sometimes. And I also want to hear about what you're working on, if you're writing some stuff too. So do hop on over to Discord, join us there. The link is in the description. And yeah, we can chat about what we're writing, but also just, you know, the pitfalls, the how difficult sometimes it can be, or any tips and tricks that you found work for you, you know, in terms of getting things done, stuff like that, getting over the fear, things like that. And if there's anything in particular that you want to know about, you know, my process, how I'm approaching things, the software I use, how I outline, all that kind of stuff, then let me know in the comments, and I can always do some more writing content on the channel, or I can drop those things specifically into some of my vlogs and updates, things like that. So I will leave it there for today. That is plenty of writing waffle for one video. Thank you very much for watching, folks. As always, as I say, do drop your thoughts, etc. in the comments below. Always great to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider giving me a like and subscribing for more content coming very soon. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.